So to get underway on the second panel of the day, where we'll be discussing, maybe building on the theme of the previous panel, how we can really take the next step and mainstream the corporate procurement of renewable energy in the Balkans, in our region of Europe. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bitsios. I work for a Greek company called Mytilineos. We're both a buyer and a seller of renewable energy. Shameless promotion. If anyone would like to get in touch with our team, they're here. Please reach out after the panel. But you are not here to listen to me today, and I have the pleasure of welcoming a fantastic panel of speakers with us today. Starting off with Andrea Bandiera, who is environmental commodities and renewable energy trader at ACT. We have at the far end, Dimitar Bartov, managing director at Synergon Energy. Petya Dimova, who's the head of energy portfolio optimization at Enery. Milan, Kamaryt at Rezolv Energy, dealing with PPA origination, and a name that maybe I can pronounce a bit better than the rest, Konstantinos Nazos, who is the Deputy CEO and Chief of Energy Management at the PPC Group. So before getting into the questions, I'd like to give you all the chance to briefly introduce yourselves, what you do, what your company does, and maybe a brief opening statement. So we can start with you, Andrea.
Yeah, so thank you very much. My name is Andrea, and I work as a trader for ACT Commodities. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of the event. We are proudly happy to be the sponsor here and also to supply renewable electricity for the conference. I also would like to thank all the speakers and all the attendees. ACT, as a group, we are a multinational company. We are based in Amsterdam, but we also have branches in New York, in Shanghai, and Paris, also Singapore. Let's say that our division, Commodities division of ACT Group, we are mainly traders of environmental certificates. I believe that the certificates that we're going to speak about the most is going to be guarantees of origin. So basically, we connect buyers and sellers of these products.
Perfect. Building nicely then on the discussion in the previous panels. Straight over to you, Petya.
Thank you, Nick. Hello, everybody. My name is Petya Dimova. I'm the head of power trading unit in Enery. A couple of words for Enery. It's a renewable energy company headquartered in Austria with presence in 11 countries across Central and Eastern Europe. Enery owns about 60 operational renewable assets, mainly solar, wind and some small hydros, and develops a pipeline of about 8 gigawatts renewable and storage project across different European countries. Enery business covers the whole value chain from development to operation of the renewable plants, including the commercial activities. In this regard, the securing of the long-term offtake of the renewable generation and short-term power trading and optimization of the assets. The commercial activities are covered by Enery Portfolio Optimization, the power trader in Enery Group. We are currently active as a power trader and BRP in Bulgaria and Romania, and expanding our activities in the other countries where Enery develop projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe staying then on the theme of energy management and power trading. Konstantinos.
Yes, thank you, Nick. To introduce myself, I'm called Kostas Nazos. I am the Deputy CEO of Energy Management for PPC Group. PPC SA is the leading vertical utility in Greece. Now we are calling ourselves something better. We are PPC Group. We are under a very big transformation from a former utility based on lignite. Now we are a leading company in the Southeastern Europe with a strong presence in other countries as well. So Romania is the biggest one, North Macedonia also, and with plans to expand in other countries. And I am representing the company here as Energy Management because in our discussion, I want to show how all this volatility we are facing is in the hands of traders and Energy Management, and we can provide solutions to the problems that we discuss all the day in the forum.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big theme that was touched on in the previous panel already. I think we're going to have a fantastic discussion on this. And straight over to you, Milan.
Hi, my name is Milan Kamaryt. I'm here representing Rezolv Energy. We are a wind and solar parks developer in Eastern Europe. we have existing assets and we have assets under development, which will generate 4.2 terawatt hours of electricity. We are based in Bulgaria, in Romania, and in Czech Republic. My background is energy buyer / seller, so in my internal discussions in the company, I always try to represent the buy side, so I'm quite familiar with the challenges the buyers are facing.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, I go over to you, Dimitar.
Hello, my name is Dimitar Bartov, and I'm a general manager of Synergon Energy. We're a trading company based in Bulgaria, and we supply a little over 12,000 businesses, as well as our renewable producer portfolio is, as of next month, of about 1,000 megawatts of installed capacity. So we're trying to find the balance between consumers and producers and help everybody continue developing and continue growing in the volatile market we are entering.
Thank you very much, Dimitar. So we've had a fantastic first introduction from the panelists. Something I should mention is that we will try at the end, as with the previous panel, to get through any questions that you have as the audience. We have a Slido link, so please do insert your questions into there for any of the panelists, and we'll try to get through as many of those as possible at the end. But we can get straight into the first question now, and I'll go first to Milan, who, as we heard, is working for a company, Rezolv, who have an impressive portfolio of RES assets across Central Europe, across Southeastern Europe. How do you see the PPA market developing? And do you see differences in the appetite that consumers have for PPAs between different countries?
Definitely, yes. I see differences to the Western PPA market. I see differences along the internal PPA market in Central, Southern, Eastern Europe, driven by legislation, driven by end customer preferences, driven by motivation to buy or to sign PPAs. One of the main differentiators would be if a buyer is trying to meet their ESG targets, ESG goals, where they are not so price sensitive, whereas energy-intensive buyer is very price sensitive and is looking for maximizing their position in a PPA.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the key things we have to unlock as well moving forward. So work for a company that produces aluminium as well. But sticking on this theme of companies that have assets across many different countries, I'll go to Petya next. How does your strategy change depending on the consumer and especially the different types of PPA that they might be interested in signing?
Well, I would say that Enery is very customer-oriented in its PPA strategy, and actually our PPA strategy evolves with the needs of our clients and, of course, with the market development trends. In the last year, Enery closed more than 10 corporate long-term PPAs in different European countries, mainly with industrial consumers. Some of the PPAs are with physical settlement, but the majority are cross-border with financial settlement in different European power exchanges. We see growing potential for securing virtual PPAs, not only as a result of the coupling of the markets in the region, but also because the virtual PPA is an efficient solution for some consumers who are targeting to advance their sustainability objectives. Wind and solar profiles could not match consumer energy profile. Most of the industrial consumers has base load-like consumption profile, and of course they are looking for such a green solution. At the same time, extremely price sensitive. what we do, we are trying to be all-in-one electricity hub for the consumers and trying to cover their individual need by structuring long-term solution for their whole consumption, and at the same time at competitive price. In this regard, today our PPA strategy is being enhanced by three, I think, important pillars. First, we partner with other renewable producers, for example, wind, in securing long-term corporate PPAs, and also with storage owners for assets optimization. Through this partnership, we are trying to structure and offer a blended baseload like green product that is much closer to the consumer's profile. Second, we have internal in-house company which covers and implement on-site and near-site renewable and flexibility storage on consumer's location. The company evaluates the potential in the buyer available spaces and location, and if a feasible project could be developed, Enery finance, build and maintain the system and sell the green electricity to the consumer. And last but not least, through our power trader energy portfolio optimization, we sleeved the PPAs and cover the whole electricity needs to the consumer, and also optimize the power and trading activities of the renewable and flexibility assets on the market.
Thank you. So that was actually quite a nice link to the previous comment that we heard from Milan with the challenges of covering baseload consumers, aggregation, and the role that storage can play there as well. I'm going to go to Kostas next. And PPC is a company that, especially over the past few years, has been making really impressive expansions beyond Greece across the rest of the region. We had a big deal between our two companies quite recently as well. And what do you see as the main challenges involved in RES procurement in our region of Europe, as opposed to other countries elsewhere, let's say in Europe?
Yeah. First of all, the numbers are big. For PPC specifically, right now we're having 1.5 gigawatts in operation, and in the coming 2 years, our target is this number to become almost 5.5 gigawatts. At the same time, we have a gross portfolio of 18 gigawatts. These numbers are enormous, and it makes us very sensitive to what happens in the market and to what specifically you are asking. What I see, because also our department is negotiating PPAs, and we have seen the difficulties. So one challenge we have to face in our small neighborhood in Southeastern Europe, it's not something different than the other markets in the mature Western Europe, but we have to educate. I found myself in the position to need to educate big corporates. PPA is connected to cheap price. It's not only that. There are a lot of risks that we might discuss in the coming minutes. We have to make them feel comfortable that we can handle, we can help their problems. At the same time, we are in a neighborhood, this is for me the biggest challenge, which is very fragmented. I noticed a point in the previous panel, interconnections. We need to go from countries, for example, like Greece, where we don't have enough space now, to adjacent countries. The regulatory framework is totally different. We don't have the same market principles, and we even don't have enough capacity to utilize cross-border activity. However, I'm very happy sitting in Sofia today, having come from Romania yesterday and going to Athens tomorrow, which is our corridor, which is totally coupled. And this is a big opportunity for all these countries to help the whole neighborhood to achieve the targets, because we want to achieve at the end of the day 3 things: clean energy, something that is financially viable and economical. We have to cover all these elements. It's not just one of them. So we need to work in the whole spectrum and be very agile and active to take immediate actions, seeing what is happening in the market. I'm very strong believer, obviously, of market activity, which this is that shows us the direction where we should move. But the difference now is that we should move very quickly. We cannot sit and wait and do philosophical questions. We must act. We will do, of course, mistakes, but we must act, we must cooperate, and we must innovate.
Very clear message. We've seen a lot of developments over the past few years, but much more that needs to be done ahead of us. And I'll turn next to Andrea, where, as you described before, you have, I think, an interesting oversight of different procurement strategies, not even just in Europe, but globally even. So how do you see that corporate procurement strategies vary in our part of Europe, in Southeast Europe, compared to the rest of Europe?
Well, the premise is that it really depends. Each single corporate, each single company has their own sustainability or procurement goals. They may follow the same guidelines, which can be CDP, which can be SBTI, which can be RE100. However, each one of them, they have individual sustainability and procurement goals. What we see is that, for example, in Western and North Europe, Germany is a country that is leading the way here. The companies are coordinating everything: procurement, energy department, and sustainability department. Most of them, these companies has one or more sustainability managers, and they coordinate everything. They calculate scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. Most of them are calculating scope 3. Some others of these multinational companies are in process of calculating scope 3 emissions, or some others are about to calculate scope 3. The easiest one to reduce, because we're talking about reduction here, is definitely scope 2 emissions, because you can reduce it by doing PPAs or by purchasing guarantees of origin. And what we notice is that multinational companies who have very high attention on sustainability and on reducing their emissions, they try to focus a lot more on PPAs, especially on long-term PPAs as well, and I'm talking about renewable PPAs. Other, let's say, mid-sized companies in Western Europe, they are not so interested in long-term PPAs. They're more interested in guarantees of origin because it's easier to purchase guarantees of origin. It's literally one click sometimes, or they have to reach out to a power supplier or an entity, a trader like us, and they can secure guarantees of origin for the current year or for the forward years as well. In the Balkan region in Southeast Europe, with Southeast Europe, I would like to mention also South Europe. I'm Italian, and I would like to say that also about Italian companies, for example. The multinational companies, this is very generic again, they look into PPAs, but they don't really look into PPAs as a renewable source to reduce their scope 2 emissions. They look into PPAs more as a way to hedge, to have an overview about what the fixed cost of energy is going to be for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. So there's some companies that even sometimes they ask us for gray PPAs just to have an overview about what the cost of electricity is going to be for the next future years. Regarding mid-sized companies, sometimes they may ask us for guarantees of origin, or they may purchase guarantees of origin. They're not really interested in PPAs, from our experience in Southeastern Europe, because they have a demand for their suppliers or their clients who are committed maybe to CDP, or they have decarbonization goals. And then they ask them to be green as well. So they buy guarantees of origin because they feel like they are forced to do it, rather than they have to do it because they have a sustainable goal. So this is pretty much the overview, I would say, regarding renewable energy and corporate procurement.
Thank you very much. And there was an interesting segue there to the next section. We've had Dimitar has been waiting patiently for a while now to touch on, I think, an issue that we heard a little bit already in the previous panel, very, very relevant in the market today. And we can think back to when we met here last year, completely different market. Energy prices were sky high, consumers were shutting down. And over the space of just, well, a year since then, over a couple of years, let's say, we've now seen last month, negative prices, zero prices, close to zero prices. And we're now in a point where we see big changes from day to day, week to week, even intraday. So what role do you believe that PPAs can play then for the consumer side in terms of hedging their electricity price?
So, frankly speaking, I'll try to give a more practical perspective of the market and what actually PPAs are. Because everybody thinks that a PPA should be a 10-year contract at a certain price, and when you sign it, you forget about it. But frankly speaking, in our part of the world, this is not happening. There aren't enough big businesses so they could cover all the supply we're looking at. So people should start thinking about how to meet and how to cover the needs of smaller enterprises and for shorter periods of time. Because the smaller the company, the more agile it needs to be in order to survive. And in order for someone to pay the price of the PPA, the business should be operational, which means you should be somewhere around the market. And I'll give you an example. Last year, in the end of last year, all the producers were getting prices for a fixed price. Let's say photovoltaic producers were getting fixed prices at about 80 or 90 euros. This was October, November last year. And everybody, at least in Bulgaria, were thinking that winter is coming and the prices are going to go higher. So, as we saw, winter didn't come and the prices didn't go higher. Now everybody is looking at the surplus of energy in particular days and the prices are super low. And the producers want to sell their energy because they're afraid. On the other side, the consumers are thinking that prices are going to fall and fall more and fall more, and that isn't the case. The same like 9 months ago when the others were thinking that they're always going to grow. So people should stop thinking about the energy market in terms of a casino and all the time betting whether the price is going high or low. The energy market should be looked as a tool of managing risks. Another example. Last month, at least in Bulgaria, and with little differences in the other markets in the near countries, in Greece and Romania as well. So prices of base load was about 55, 60 euros, give or take. The solar profile was at a 40% discount. In May, totally different picture. The last few days, we have prices of base load at about 100 euros. Okay, so this is a clear signal that there is a big volatility. Now what people should do is start meeting with each other and thinking about it. Who knows what is going to happen in the summer or in the last quarter of the year? Frankly speaking, nobody. So both parties should meet, sit, and try to reach a price which is okay for both parties and hedge. On one side, the producers are going to hedge against low prices. On the other side, consumers are going to hedge against high prices. So this is something which should be close to the mind of every manager who is operating a production company and every manager who is managing a company which is producing green energy. So it shouldn't be so hard to make PPAs. Okay, if nobody wants to take risk for a long period of time, then start making shorter period PPAs. In the end, it's a power purchase agreement. Nobody says it should be for 5 or 10 years. And frankly speaking, at the moment, for the second half of this year, there are a lot of arguments in both directions. So there is a big uncertainty. It's the perfect time for both parties to sit at a table and come to a conclusion. Okay, let's sell at this price, we'll buy at this price, everybody is happy. We'll see what happens in 6 months or so, and then the game continues. So there are how to say, there is a solution to every problem as long as both parties are thinking and both parties have enough information. That's why I agree with Mr. Nazos, who said that we should educate people and we should educate them about risks, because in the end, it's not a casino where everybody is betting on something and either losing or winning big. It should be sustainable, meaning that reaching deals, making deals, and reaching mutually beneficial solutions is the point of doing business together. So it's a perfect tool to manage the risks. So altogether, I think it's a great time to start thinking about it.
It's a very clear message, I think, to everyone in the room and listening online. Go out and sign deals. That's what we're here for today at Rezolv. I'd like to ask a very similar question to Milan as well. So how is Rezolv approaching this? And how do you think that PPAs can sort of play a role in allocating the different risks between the buyers and the sellers?
Good question. Not a simple answer, so it's not going to tackle all the possibilities. We are obviously talking to educated buyers, educated consumers who already are doing a lot in terms of reducing their energy consumption, their carbon footprint, improving their sustainability. And then they realize there is still a portion of their consumption that needs to be covered by either just buying GOOs or signing PPAs, and it's up to the customer to do the calculation, which part do they do with PPAs, which part do they do with GOOs. De-risking a PPA is basically coming from many aspects, because we are always talking about sellers and buyers, but in the background there are many other stakeholders, and on the sell side there are lenders, banks, their advisors, technical advisors. Due diligences are being performed to extreme, variations of future, which the buyer does not see, but the banks, the lenders need to be protected. So one way how to, from a customer perspective, how to be protected against potential default by a developer is that he's financed from a group of lenders which perform their due diligences. They have provided their financing, which means that the lenders are comfortable with the level of risks under the delivery obligations from the developer, as well as with the credit risks associated with the off-takers. The other way how to come to terms with a pay-as-produced profile could be to sign a hybrid PPA, which is a combination of wind, solar, potentially batteries in future, where the wind and solar profiles are nicely complementing each other. It's not 24/7 matching, because it can happen that both wind does not blow and sun does not shine. Hence, there needs to be some delivery from the grid, which is some gray power. But with such a PPA, there are a lot of risks being taken off from the CFO's mind in case of, okay, when do I pay, when do I collect money as a buyer? Last 2 points, it was kind of, I kind of addressed it, find a reputable partner. If you are a buyer, you want to talk to similar sized counterparties. So in case there are problems along the way, and a PPA, even if it's just a 5 or 3 year or 7 year contract, so not a 20-year PPA, which gives you the best commercial conditions if you are a buyer. But if you want to test a PPA, you sign something small. After 2 or 3 years, there might be another crisis, there might be issues with operations, with maintenance of the solar or wind farm. And if you have a long-term partner, then he will step up to the challenges. If you have a small partner who is just running SPVs and who is looking for how best he can sell these projects because they are under PPAs, and then he can sell it onwards to some other funds, then such kind of partner will most likely not look at the long-term profitability. They will always look at short-term profitability. Last, and this was already mentioned, if you want to de-risk, you don't need to sign a big PPA. You don't need to have this huge multi-year, multi-hundreds of gigawatt hours of electricity PPA, which is in the end millions of euros, which you need to recognize on your balance sheet. You can start small. You can, if your consumption is, I don't know, 100, 150 gigawatt hours, you can find the suppliers that can provide you with a 20, 30, 40, 50 gigawatt hour PPA. You sign it, you test it, run it for 1 or 2 years, you see you are comfortable with such kind of PPA. And then if you have a reputable partner, then obviously he's building other projects, so he can include you in the pipeline, and you can grow together in future. So those would be my observations so far.
Thanks, Milan. And interesting point there on the smaller buyers. We often talk about in these conferences, how can we help them procure renewable electricity as well? I'd like to dive into this now into a more sort of technical, sort of granular level. Petya, you're the head of power trading at Enery. So how are you dealing with this? What do you see as the main risks involved in supplying renewable energy to consumers? And how are you as a company handling those risks?
Well, from a power trading perspective, I would outline 3 key risks: profile risk, balancing risk, market volatility, of course, and all these 3 are strongly interrelated one to another. We handle with these risks and manage these risks through our power trader, mainly on the spot markets. Depending on the PPA structure, volume structure, and the agreed risk allocation between the parties, these risks could be covered by the seller or by the buyer, or distributed between the parties. But in any case, I think the tools for managing these risks are the same. We know renewable generation is different to be forecasted even on a day-ahead and intraday basis, and the most proper place to manage this risk is the intraday markets currently. Of course, a lot of efforts we put in trying to optimize our renewable generation forecasts. Apple actually sleeves these PPAs and manage the supply from the renewable asset to the consumer. And in these regards, trying to fully optimize the renewable generation on the power exchanges. Market volatility is something that is a risk, but also it opens up good opportunity for optimization of the renewable assets on the intraday market. We see very well coupled intraday market in the region, and price spreads between day-ahead and intraday markets are in specific periods high enough to gain from that price volatility and to optimize the revenue streams for the producers, and at the same time to optimize the cost for the consumers. On the other hand, intraday market and the optimization of the renewable assets on the intraday markets reduce the exposure of the asset to the balancing market, which also is a good optimization and provide a lot of opportunity for cost saving and even improvement of the overall revenue streams of the parties. We are working very hard currently on insourcing our own storage assets owned by Enery and also external storage assets in our BRP to further optimize the renewable generation. And I believe this is something that is to happen very quickly in the next months, and the optimization of these risks and management of these risks will become even more easier.
Absolutely. And I would ask a very similar question to Kostas as well, who similarly is in charge of energy management at PPC. How are you handling the volatility in the market? We were speaking earlier, you said that in many ways it's exciting because there's never a boring day, especially in your job right now. And so how are you handling it, and what do you think it means as well for RES procurement more generally moving forwards?
Okay, thanks. I don't know how many people in the audience are related to trading. So volatility is bread and butter for us. It's the reason for our existence, but taking one word of Dimitar, which is very critical, we are not casinos. Our role is to protect the company and to provide reliable product to the market, to the customer, because what we saw during the crisis is that if we leave the situation unattended, the final effect will be to the customer. It will bypass everything, the customer will suffer. And this is the reason of our department's existence. However, this morning, I was thinking of our discussion, and it popped up in my mind an acronym which is very known to everyone, but I heard it many years ago. We are living in a VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. I think now we are realizing that this is the world. It's not only volatility, it is uncertainty, ambiguity, complexity, and there are no silver bullets to solve all the problems. Coming back to my original statement at the beginning of the discussion, I said we need to educate ourselves and the companies we cooperate. If I could say lesson number one, PPAs for dummies, it will be let's identify the risks. What are the risks? It's not only the prices, as correctly was said previously. Everybody is focused on the pricing, but the real thing that is happening now is that the whole market, which is used to work under supply contracts of 1, maximum 2 years, suddenly everyone is called to go into deals with other counterparties, and this is what Milan said before, for 10, 15 years. Who is the counterparty? What is the power of negotiation of someone? Who is the trustful counterparty over there, and what services can you provide? It is interesting that when we had a discussion with many companies, big and large, because as energy management, we stand in the middle. We buy PPAs and we sell PPAs as well. So we face all the problems of the developer and the consumer at the end. At some point, a company told us, I want to hedge fully my consumption. Okay, pay as produced, PV, blah, blah, this is the price, these are the terms. Yes, but if I hedge it fully, what will happen if the prices drop? Okay, hedge less. But then what will happen if prices go up? This means that we have to look ourselves in the mirror, understand the risks, what do we need to protect ourselves from, what opportunities are we accepting to lose? Because in December, prices were sky high. In January, 60% down. 3 days, not 3 days, a couple of weeks ago, 70 euros in Greece. Today, the last day is 100. What has happened? And somebody, I don't remember who said it, we are discussing PPAs, seeing the spot market. It's impossible to discuss a long-term agreement and seeing what is happening now. Myself doing, I am being in PPC for 20 years. For the previous 15 years, I had the privilege to work on modeling, price forecasting, system modeling. I am the first person who can say I don't believe long-term forecasting. But I need to do the job. I need to describe the perimeter and the context and to know what I have to deal with, because then we will identify the solutions. If the PPA or the low price or something else, the zero prices are the problem, this means that the next solution is there, batteries, for example, storage, demand response. These are the new products we have to develop, and this is the role of ourselves as trading departments, as energy management departments, taking advantage of these opportunities. We are the ones who can handle volatility. Don't forget, now we are speaking in a context where everything is stable. We just worry about zero prices. 3 years ago, we are in a thunderstorm. And big utilities like PPC, with such an exposure, faced difficult times. We passed very safely through the thunderstorm because we changed our mindset, trying to be more agile, become stronger, developing systems, skills, our people, ourselves. We didn't know all of that. Put the risk metrics. Risk is number one. And the main element that I see that is not very well understood in the market is that risk has a cost. Risk is cost. Risk is capital. If you want to avoid risk, it costs something. If you want all the risk, it costs something else. This is what you cannot avoid it. It exists there. The critical element, and this is the important thing of having a reliable counterparty, is to price the risk correctly, to understand what is the price of it, and then you can do your actions. Thank you. I wanted to say, if you see me becoming a lot of very enthusiastic, please push the stop button, because I
Not
like
at
this
all.
discussion very much.
This is the issue right now. Everyone that's in the market sees it. And I think a number of you have touched on a very important point, which is educating consumers. It was a big theme during the energy crisis as well, and it becomes more and more important actually in a market that evolves more and more and is changing from day to day even. So, Dimitar, how are you seeing this moving forward? How are you seeing that consumers are making their decisions for electricity procurement? How do you think this will change moving forwards, and how do you think this should change moving forwards?
Frankly speaking, in terms of education, I think that both parties, both producers and consumers, should know that all deals should be done in a timely manner, because markets are volatile and prices and markets could change within a day. And what I want to say is the following. Imagine if you made a PPA a week before the Russian invasion in Ukraine. The price would be a lot lower than a week after. So being able and knowing how markets work should be the cornerstone in making any deal. And the first step should be to have a strategy. What percentage of your energy consumption or energy production you want to hedge? So if you're afraid of making a move with everything you've got, then divide it in different pieces. And if you're a consumer and you don't want to hedge everything for 5 years, hedge 20% of your consumption for 5 years. Then hedge another 20% for 3 years. Then hedge another 20% for 1 year, and leave 40% on the spot market. This is a actual strategy that could work and that could suit your needs. It's the same with producers, and there is a big misunderstanding here, because big corporations and big companies, when they ask for an offer, they want validity for, let's say, a month. And imagine you give the offer today and you're a RES producer and you offer, let's say, 45 euros for the next year, even though it's a little low price, but let's say you offer it. And the validity is 1 month. In 2 weeks, there is a military crisis in the Middle East, and the markets are already triple because there is fear of an all-out war. What happens then? Are you really willing to lose 3 times your money in continuing to support the offer you made 2 weeks ago? I doubt it. So in order for both parties to be happy and to have a deal. When they're making a deal, they should do it in a timely manner so both parties know the same information and do it in a timely manner. So I think this is the most important thing. When both producers and consumers have the same information, know the risks, they have seen everything, they have spoken to each other. I mean, they rely on each other in order to fulfill the agreement, because the longer the agreement, the bigger the guarantee should be. So, and the shorter the agreement, the smaller the guarantee. And when everything clicks together, you have a deal. It's the practical point of view.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, I'll come back to you, Andrea. We've spent a lot of time on this panel speaking about PPAs, but RES procurement is not obviously just linked to PPAs. And I'd like to come back to this issue of renewable certificates. And we've had a interesting development recently with Bulgaria becoming a member of the AIB. And what do you think this means in practical terms? And specifically, what sort of differences do you see in the trading of certificates between countries that are members of the AIB and members that are not?
Yes, for sure. So most of the countries within the European Union are part of AIB at the moment. AIB, I mean, every day there are tens, probably hundreds of trades on AIB guarantees of origin. It's pretty easy to export, to import, to trade. The registries are generally very simple for the producers, AIB producers, to get the certificates, to transfer them, for traders to get the guarantees of origin and to send them out, and for power suppliers to receive them. Regarding non-AIB GOs, the trades are happening a lot less compared to AIB GOs at the moment. Bulgaria indeed is basically almost, I would say, towards about being an AIB member. However, the registry is not connected there yet. So the trades are happening still in a non-AIB way. What I mean by this, together with Poland, Bulgaria and Poland are the only two non-IB countries at the moment where the GOs are actually tradable. You can trade them, but you cannot transfer them within other registries, except a few exceptions. So usually you do a next domain cancellation. That means that you cancel the guarantees of origin on behalf of the company, but you don't transfer them into another country power supplier account, and then they cancel them on behalf of the end client. So once, hopefully, at some point, a lot more countries will become AIB members, there will be a lot more liquidity in the market. Because at the moment, yes, GOs, it's a long market. AIB GOs is technically a long market. That's also why we see the prices of guarantees of origin going down a lot, because it's always been a long market anyway. However, the demand of guarantees of origin is increasing throughout, not just throughout Europe, but all around the world, for not for GOs, but also for IREX, which is the equivalent of guarantees of origin, but outside Europe. So because the demand will increase, and to get guarantees of origin, it's actually pretty easy to buy guarantees of origin, but to build renewable projects, it takes months, it takes years to get authorizations, to connect them to the grid, to get to actually get to build the projects. So at some point, I personally believe that the demand will increase a lot more than what the offer is. So AIB having a liquid market such as AIB will definitely help this transition. Talking about Romania, for example, Romania, I think it's a very interesting market because at the moment Romania is non-AIB. However, there's an incredible installed capacity in Romania for renewables. So hopefully at some point Romania will join AIB. At the moment, the guarantees of origin are bundled with power there, so they're not tradable, they're not exportable, and Romania cannot import guarantees of origin either. And there are some other Balkan countries or some other Southeastern European countries that are working towards being an AIB member, but there's nothing concrete yet. We saw a lot of improvements and a lot more liquidity that countries in the Balkans have provided liquidity, such as Greece by joining AIB, such as Croatia and Hungary Also, Serbia is now AIB as well and is fully connected. However, unfortunately, regarding Serbia, because it's not an EU country, a lot of registering within the EU cannot accept Serbian guarantees of origin.
Thank you very much. We do have some time left. So I mentioned at the start we have a Slido poll. I'm not sure that's the case. Is it questions from the audience instead? I see Nicola.
To be first this time, because we do have a question from Slido that's waiting for some time. And it's rather interesting, actually. I think it would be interesting to most of the audience. In a virtual PPA, are buyers and sellers in the same price zone? If not, what are strategies that consumers can apply to hedge the basis risk?
I'll go, maybe, Petya, did you want to take that one? You touched upon this a bit before, and I'll open it to anyone else as well.
Of course, I can. For a virtual PPA, in case the consumer and the buyers are in a different price zones. Okay, so the basis risk is, of course, depending on the price zone, the basis risk is evaluated and it is priced in the market, in the price of the PPA. For example, Bulgaria, Romania, the basis risk is close to zero. It's immaterial. There is a lot of similarity in the prices, for example, Bulgaria and Hungary as well, and it's also the basis risk is could be manageable and provides good opportunities for cross-border deals.
Can I add something?
Of course.
If I understand correctly, the virtual PPA refers to a financial PPA, not a physical one, correct?
Financial.
Yeah. I said before about education. I would like to ask the colleague who does this, is he feeling comfortable with the accounting treatment of the financial PPA? I don't say that this is bad, but I discovered that I did this discussion with other companies for a long time, and at the end, they told me, no, now we want a physical, because our CFO doesn't feel very comfortable with the accounting treatment of the financial PPA. So we have to know, again, we speak on price. It's not only price. We have to see the whole context, and then, of course, discuss whatever we need. This is an interesting point that we realized we have done in PPC almost 2 gigas of PPAs right now, buy and sell, integrated, all of it. And we realized that as we proceeded, we didn't know the business of PPAs, of course. We educated ourselves. As we proceeded, each time we were identifying a different problem. And this accounting treatment is an interesting problem. Physical has other complexities or not complexities, but it's a complex stuff. For example, somebody told me at some point, why this price? I heard 30 euros PPA. Somebody else buys, whatever. How many megawatts? 5. How many do you want? 100. Okay. So we have to be transparent, honest, reliable, knowing the thing, and then we can have very good discussion to find the solution is there, exists.
Absolutely. Do we have, Nicola, you've been waiting patiently.
Very quickly, short comment and 2 quick questions. The comment is actually anticipating the next panel, which is about financing. So the elephant in the room, the duration of the PPAs, or this dilemma between, higher price levels and longer duration, this is to a big extent caused by, the need to project finance new assets. And I'm sure we're going to hear in the next panel from very educated speakers how do they see this evolving. The 2 questions are to our Greek colleagues, Nick and Kostas. First, Nick, as you've been in the comfortable situation to ask the questions, I'm going to repeat the question I heard this morning at the BIAS bootcamp. From an heavy industrial consumer in Bulgaria. So basically, the question was, we see now the low price levels clearly at the day-ahead market. how do I go to my board and tell them why now? Why do I need to purchase renewable energy now based on a long-term agreement? So that's the one question. How would you do it? Bearing in mind Mytilineos is a very big and energy-intensive consumer and also has activities in development and execution. And Kostas, you mentioned the need to expand grids, so there's a lot going on. Transelectrica, ESO, IPTO, they're doing a lot at the national level, then also cross-border, Nea Santa, Carmen, now Carmen 2, and other initiatives perhaps on the way. What would be the benefit from having this south-north corridor? What is the end goal? Is it reaching Germany, let's say, and having a more liquid final destination? Or also, knowing very well what is the speed of grid development, it's, turtle speed versus the rabbit speed of developers. How is that going to work out? I hope it wasn't too long.
No, absolutely. I think it's a very relevant question, and I can build upon a lot of the questions, the answers rather, that the other panelists have mentioned already. As an aluminium smelter, electricity is 40% of our overall production costs. So you need to hedge. It's an absolute necessity. You cannot leave yourself exposed to a situation, as you've seen over the past few years, where suddenly it skyrockets and you shut down. If we had done that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, today, maybe I wouldn't even be sitting here and speaking to you on the stage. So just building on what you said before, you need to have strategies where you can maybe open yourself a bit to the spot market if you see that there's a benefit there. It is right now, because of the prices that you see, tempting. And it's something that as a seller, we have seen in the market that you have a reluctance now, as was mentioned before, to sign a PPA, but you do not know what the price is going to be tomorrow or next week or next year. So I think that is the answer to the question. You cannot only think about this, especially when you're a really electro-intensive consumer, only on a day-to-day basis. You need to have a much more forward-looking vision and know that in a week, in a month, in a year, I'm still going to have a viable case to continue operating in the market.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't know if I remember the whole question, but if I deviate, please correct me. I come from a point, you mentioned TSOs. I want to complement to what we say all this time about educational stuff. It's not only corporates. The critical element are TSOs, regulators. We cannot educate them. They know much more than at least I do, but we must work together in a direction where the markets can operate. Now, whether we should go to Germany, I don't know, but we can do it financially today. We don't need the cable. There are ways to do it. However, the cables show us the real value of what happens. But I know today that you cannot build a cable increasing the interconnection with Greece, Bulgaria, or Bulgaria, Romania next year. This will take some years. But in the meantime, and this is where we are focusing ourselves, is you mentioned Romania. I don't know nothing about Romania. Here with me are the colleagues of the Romanian energy management team. They educate me, and now we try to establish knowledge in all these markets. And is, for example, for the first time, we are modeling the whole region. Modeling. Before, in PPC, for example, it was a wishful thinking, but why should we model until Hungary or until Germany to know? Now we have a reason to do that, because we have seen that in order to be a reliable partner who is expanding with an increasing, the speed is dieseling. What we are doing geographically and technology-wise, we have to build strengths, skills, as I said, systems, people, to help understand our BODs as well, what we are doing, because the solutions are not very evident. And this is a common question, if I got it correctly. You build or you buy a PV in Romania, in Croatia, in Italy. I want the energy in Greece. What I'm going to do? This is where energy management comes. We have the opportunity ourselves to handle the biggest portfolio vertically integrated in the southeastern Europe. And over there, we identify the opportunities to balance, to net the risks of our customers with our generation here and there, to diversify our risk. Because if I can diversify my risks, then I can price it better for the customer. And also, building skills to to attract others as well. It's not, when I refer to customers, energy management does not have customers, the traditional ones, retail, but our customers are other developers. We are an aggregator of renewables, in the future aggregator of batteries. So we can provide services to everyone, and this makes us give us the ability, enable us to become stronger and more efficient, and this helps the whole market. Because I am saying all that because we can never forget the role of this specific company. We are a big one. We are a leader in the region. We went outside of the Greek borders, and we help the market to operate and facilitate everything. This is in the benefit of our, again, I'm saying our small neighborhood. It is totally different than Western Europe, and we want to reach the maturity of this level.
I see another couple of questions have popped up. We have run out of time, so I invite you to come and chase us down afterwards, and let's continue this discussion bilaterally, trilaterally, and so on. I'd like to give each of you the opportunity, maybe from closest to furthest away, 30 seconds, key message for the audience. Andrea.
Yes, if I have to say something, I would say a key message for the corporates in terms of energy procurement, what we spoke about. Probably the first action that you should take is understanding your emissions. I'm not talking about budget, I'm not talking about immediately taking action on decarbonizing, on reducing, but at least understanding your emissions, understand what Scope 1 is, try to understand your Scope 2 emissions, and eventually your Scope 3 as well. It's not acceptable that you want to purchase, for example, guarantees of origin, or you want to do PPAs, and you don't even know as a corporate what Scope 2 emissions are. So understand your emissions first, that's the first step.
Petya.
I would say that to accelerate the green transition, we need flexibility, not just in terms of fast deployment, but also in structuring valuable and workable solutions for the parties involved in this.
Perfect. Then over to Kostas.
You need us.
We need?
To accelerate green transition, you need ourselves.
There we go.
It's
Nice
just-
and simple.
Yes, nice and simple. This, of course, it's much deeper than the way I express it. You need to understand what is happening around. It is very deep. It is very deep what is happening. It is not something to be scared by what is happening. Knowledge removes fear. We all know that. But also you need to develop your strengths, your ability to handle all these things. I don't want to destroy the question, but we speak on PPA pricing. The only thing that I am asked is what I'm going to do with my shaping cost. This is the question. Everybody is buying a pay as produced, and the next day they try to cover the shaping cost. And this is the way we should operate as similar departments to provide innovative products in the market, new products, which does not exist. Let's trade ourselves profiles. We have energy exchanges, base load. And the departments like energy management have to trade on the energy exchange to hedge base load, and on the back side, we have to deal with a profile.
Yep.
We have to become more efficient and agile. It's an opportunity.
Couldn't agree more. Milan.
For customers, the message would be surround yourself with partners, advisors, talk internally, externally about PPAs. You will have to step outside of the box. Where you feel comfortable, there will be a lot of uncomfortable discussions, situations where you will not know the answer, but you will know the people. And don't be afraid to enter into negotiations, into smaller deals. You don't need to do a big deal, Try it. You will see if, how it goes. It's not so difficult in the end.
And last but not least, Dimitar.
I would like to repeat what Mr. Nazas said about the complexity of the world, and that everybody should give themselves the benefit of a doubt, because nobody can evaluate how complex the world is and where the markets will go. So answering the question from Nicola, why now? Now is the best time because you should have a strategy and you should follow it. 2 years ago, we had a strike in Australia which increased the energy prices in Europe. Never believe that you know everything and that you're sure that the prices will go in one direction or the other.
Can I add something here? Do you know what happened on the 7th of, after the 7th, it was 7th of October, I think, when the Middle East problem started? Everybody, at least myself, was waiting for the market to open on Monday. Everybody was expecting the gas price to explode. The gas price dropped, but the CO2 price exploded. So I totally agree. It's complex, and there are many wise guys. And let's try not to be wise. Let's discuss and let's be doing exactly what he said, small steps, and be careful.
Thanks to all of you for a really stimulating discussion. We do now have the coffee break, but I'd like to ask you all a big round of applause for our panelists.